हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Welcome dear devotees once again to the third part of the presentation on 64 limbs of Krishna Bhakti, that is Uttama Bhakti. This is Hari Parshad Das. Once again we will begin with auspicious invocations, and today we will see limb number 11 to limb number 20. But before that, Mangalacharan or auspicious invocations. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. वंदेहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने. नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे. नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna dear devotees, welcome once again to the third part of the presentation on 64 limbs of Krishna Bhakti. For this part of the video, I would like to thank my dear friend Vasudev Chitta Prabhu, who helped me in the recording of this video. In the previous part, that is part 2, we had discussed limb number 1 to limb number 10, that is the first 10 angas of Uttama Bhakti, and in this video we will be continuing from limb number 11, and let's try to go till limb number 20. But before that, we'll begin with a short quote from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Vacha. Devotional service has been divided into two categories: regulative devotional service and spontaneous love. There are 64 items listed in regulative devotional service, and out of these 64, the last 5 are considered very important. This is from the introduction to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 22. Now, moving ahead, we will see the 11th limb of the 64 limbs. Srila Rupa Goswami says, Atha Shri Krishna Vimukha Jana Sanga Tyago. As I had mentioned in the very first video, the first 10 limbs are positive injunctions, and limb number 11 to limb number 20 are negative injunctions. So, from limb number 11, Srila Rupa Goswami is starting the negative injunctions. Atha Shri Krishna Vimukha Jana Sanga Tyagah Yatha Katyayana Samhitayam. So he is giving an example from a literature named Katyayana Samhita, but the limb is Shri Krishna Vimukha Jana Sanga Tyago. That is giving up the association of those who have turned away from the Lord. The verse is as follows. वरम हुतवह ज्वाला पंजरांतर व्यवस्थिति न शौरी चिंता विमुख जन संवास वैशसम. वरम हुत वह ज्वाला पंजरांतर व्यवस्थिति. So residence in a cage full of blazing fire is acceptable. Varam. Huta vah jwala panjara. That is, residence in a cage full of blazing fire is varam, acceptable. But na shauri chinta vimukha jana samvasa vaishasam. This is one long term. Shauri chinta vimukha jana samvasa vaishasam is one compound term, which means let there never be the trouble of vaishasam associating with samvas, those individuals who have turned away from vimukha jana, thinking about chinta of shauri, that is Lord Krishna. So this is an example which clearly demonstrates that devotees who are serious in their bhajan should try their best to stay completely away from those who have turned away from the Lord, that is those who are atheists. Those who have not completely turned away from the Lord, that is they still have some inclination towards the Lord, they are innocent people, and a devotee can try to bring them to the shelter of the Lord. But those who are dedicated atheists who have completely turned away from the Lord, for such people, definitely the devotee should try and avoid their association. Now I understand that in the workplace sometimes it is not possible to completely dissociate oneself from such individuals, but the devotee always makes an effort to stay away at least mentally from the association of such individuals. So this is the 11th limb of the sadhana bhakti of the 64 limbs of Uttama Bhakti. Now, commenting on the term Vaishasam, Vaishasam is a term which Srila Jiva Goswami explains as Vipattihi. Vipattihi means the trouble or the harassment of associating with those individuals who have turned away from the Lord. So this is the 11th limb. Further, Srila Rupa Goswami is going to give another example from the Vishnu Rahasya. So Vishnu Rahasya, Srila Rupa Goswami says Vishnu Rahasya cha, and in the literature named Vishnu Rahasya, it is said Alinganam varam manye vyala vyagra jalaukasam nasangah shalya yuktanam nana devaika sevinam. Vishnu Rahasya cha, Srila Rupa Goswami says, and in the literature named Vishnu Rahasya, the same limb of bhakti is described. It says Alinganam, embracing, varam manye, I consider embracing to be better. Embracing what? Vyala, Vyagra, Jalaukasam. Three things. Vyala is a poisonous snake, Vyagra is a tiger, and Jalaukas is blood-sucking leeches. So I consider embracing these three to be better as compared to Nas Sangaha. I don't want to associate with. Shalya Yuktanam Nana Devaika Sevinam. Nana Deva Eka Sevinam, which means those who are one-pointed worshippers of other gods. One-pointed. One-pointed means they do not wish to worship Lord Krishna. They only wish to worship other gods in a one-pointed way. So this is the translation of the verse. Also in the Vishnu Rahasya it is said, I consider it better to embrace poisonous snakes, tigers, and blood-sucking leeches, but I never desire the association of those one-pointed servitors of other gods who have the sharp spears, Shalya Yuktanam, of desires pertaining to the worship of such gods in their hearts. So the term here is Shalya Yuktanam. Shalya means a sharp spear. But what does the sharp spear indicate? That is explained in the commentary by Srila Jiva Goswami. Shalya matra, spear here means tattad devatantara seva vasana, that one pointed desire to serve the other deity. Now somebody may ask a question here, Srila Rupa Goswami, you are asking us to become one pointed towards Krishna. And if somebody else is one pointed towards their deity, you are asking us to not associate with them by giving us this pramana. Why is it that somebody who is one pointed towards Krishna is accepted by you, but somebody who is not one pointed towards Krishna but one pointed towards some other deity is not acceptable? So Srila Rupa Goswami is here is saying in this way because even in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself has said, Yepyanya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvita tepi mameva kaunteya yajantya vidhipurvakam. It very clearly says, Yepi anya devata bhakta, those who are devotees of other gods, yajante shraddhayanvita, and those who worship the other gods with complete faith. Tepi mameva kaunteya yajanti, they actually worship me only, O son of Kunti, but avidhipurvakam, they are doing so in a wrong way or incorrect way. Avidhipurvakam here is explained by previous Acharya Sridhar Swami as moksha vidhim vina. Their worship will not help them attain the final aim of life, which is liberation from the material world. So Rupa Goswami says that one should not associate with those who are one-pointed devotees of other gods, but if they are not so one-pointed and they have inclination towards Lord Krishna, then one can optionally associate with them in the limited context of Krishna Bhakti. This was limb number 11. Now Srila Rupa Goswami is going to cover 3 limbs simultaneously, limbs 12, 13 and 14. So Srila Rupa Goswami says, Shishyadi Anubandhitvadi Trayam Yatha Saptame. So the 3 limbs, that is 12, 13, 14. What are the 3 limbs? 12, 13, 14. First is 12th is not accepting too many unqualified disciples. 13th is not studying non-devotional literature, too much non-devotional literature. And 14th limb of sadhana bhakti, of uttama bhakti, is to not give very long explanations or big commentaries on these non-devotional literature. So he is quoting Yatha Saptame, a verse from the 7th canto. This verse says, Na shishyan anubadhnita granthan naivabhyased bahun na vyakhyam upayunjita narambha narabhet kvachit. So I am directly reading the translation given here. He is saying, now 3 limbs beginning with not accepting unqualified disciples, as it is given in the 7th canto. A renounced person. This entire chapter is being spoken by Narad Muni, 7th canto, 13th chapter is being spoken by Narad Muni, and he is speaking it in the context of a renounced person. So especially a sannyasi, somebody who has given up householder life, a renounced person, na shishyan anubadhnita, should never gather disciples by alluring them in any way. Never try to collect too many disciples, especially unqualified disciples. Granthan naiva abhyased bahun, and should not study too many literatures. Only those literatures which are pertaining to his discipline of yoga. For example, if it is a renounced person in bhakti yoga, so he should study only bhakti specific literature. If it's a renounced person in the discipline of jnana yoga, then he should study only literature pertaining to jnana yoga. Na vyakhyam upayunjita, should not give huge explanations of Shastra. And na rambhan arabhet kvachit, should not begin any heavy material endeavors, should not come down to the material world in order to begin a huge endeavor in the material world. These things are not allowed for a renounced person, as it is given in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shabda Praman, Shastra Praman, words of the scriptures. So 3 things are prevented in this verse. Dear devotees, you can see first thing is never gathering too many disciples, especially unqualified disciples. Second is not studying too many literature, especially non-devotional literature. Devotional literature we can study as many as we want. Third is not to begin any heavy material endeavors, because that will quickly sway us away from the path of bhakti. Now let's see the explanation given by Srila Jiva Goswami here. Srila Jiva Goswami says, Shishyan naiva anubadhniyat. So he is commenting upon Shishyan anubadhnita. Shishyan naiva anubadhniyat. So don't create disciples. Iti adiko yadyapi sannyasi dharmas. He says, although this is the duty of a sannyasi in this chapter of the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam here is describing the duties of a sannyasi. Tathapi, still, nivrittanam api anyesham bhaktanam upayujyate. But still this rule applies to other devotees in other ashramas who have renounced the world, who have a mood of renunciation in their heart. Iti bhava. This is the mood of this verse. So does it mean that we should not accept any disciples at all? Even a qualified person should never accept any disciples at all. Srila Jiva Goswami says, Etaccha anadhikari shishyadi apekshaya. This is in relation to not accepting unqualified disciples only. Not that one should not accept any disciples. Don't accept unqualified disciples. Why? Shri Naradadau Tachravanat. Because the person who is speaking this chapter, Shri Narad Muni, he himself has accepted disciples. So how can his instructions mean that one should not accept any disciples? Narad Muni himself has accepted. He is a renounced person. He himself has accepted disciples. But how many has he accepted? A few handful of them. Tachravana. So even in the case of Narad Muni, he has accepted a few disciples. Tat sampradaya nasha prasangacha. And if somebody doesn't accept disciples, any disciples, still somebody says, I won't accept any disciples, then sampradaya nasha prasanga. Then there will be a problem of destruction of the sampradaya. So qualified, renounced people who know the entire science of bhakti from Shastra, not through sentiment, from Shastra, should definitely accept few disciples who are qualified. This is the conclusion given here. Anyatha, if one doesn't accept even a few disciples, jnana shathya patteh, then the flow of knowledge in the sampradaya, in the parampara, will quickly become very weak. Therefore, qualified, renounced individuals, renounced here does not mean only the sannyasi. In any ashram, if a person has a mindset of renunciation, such qualified people can accept but few disciples, not too many. Now, Ataeva, therefore, nanubadhniyad iti. So one should not accept disciples. What is the meaning? Swa sampradaya vridhyartham anadhikarinopi na samgrihniyad. So just for the sake of increasing one's own respective sampradaya, one should not accept anadhikari. Anadhikari means unqualified disciples. Now he is concentrating on the term bahun in the second line. One should not read too many literature. What does bahun, too many literature mean? He says bahun iti bhagavad bahirmukhan anyamstu iti artha. So bahun, too many literature means bhagavad bahirmukhan. Those literatures which have nothing to do with devotional service. For example, reading management books, or reading any other non-devotional literature, or reading Kama Shastra, or any other Artha Shastra, which has nothing to do with devotional literature, especially for a person who is renounced. No, absolutely no reading of such literature, because they have to be one-pointed in their bhajan. But devotional literature, they can read unlimitedly, and any literature which supports direct bhakti, they can read those literature too. And then he says arambhan iti api tadvat. So he is focusing on the last line, narambhan arabhet, which is one should not begin a very heavy endeavor. He says ityapi tadvat. This also should be understood in the same way, which means one should not begin too heavy non-devotional endeavors. Heavy non-devotional endeavors should never be engaged in. Even in devotional endeavors, sometimes we undergo some very huge endeavor. And in that also we should be extremely careful that this endeavor should be for the exclusive pleasure of the Lord, for the exclusive service of the Lord. Otherwise, shrama eva hi kevalam. It will only lead to a big distress and big effort in the material world, and our attainment of Lord Krishna and his love will remain far, far away. So this is limbs 12, 13 and 14. Moving ahead to limb number 15. Vyavahare pyakarpanyam, so not displaying miserliness in one's behavior. Yatha padme, as it is given in Padma Purana. Alabdhe va vinashte va bhakshyachadan sadhane aviklabamatir bhutva harimeva dhiya smaret. So Padma Puran says alabdhe va vinashte va bhakshya achadana sadhane. Bhaksha sadhane, achadana sadhane. If food for eating, bhaksha sadhan or achadana sadhan, or clothes for covering are alabdhe, they are not available, or they are available and they are destroyed. So vinashte. So somebody either doesn't have food, or if he gets some food but that food is lost. If it's a devotee, aviklava matir bhutva, without any disturbance in the mind, harimeva dhiya smaret, always remember the Lord through one's intelligence. One should remember the Lord through one's intelligence. So this is recommended here. Vyavaharepya karpanyam. So one should not become miserly in one's behavior simply because of some material disturbance. Material disturbances will occur. The two examples are given here. One may not get food to eat, one may not get proper clothing, or one may get them and they may be lost. But without being disturbed at mind, understanding that this is the norm of the material world, without being disturbed, one should immediately remember the Lord and his sweet pastimes using one's intelligence and resituate oneself in devotional service. So this is limb number 15, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Jiva Goswami comments on two terms. First he says alabdha iti. He says smaranadi paranam eva eveyam ritihi. So because the last term is smaret, one should remember. So Jiva Goswami says this verse is specifically speaking about those who are engaging in smaran as their primary activity, primary devotional activity. Sevadi paraistu, but if some devotees have some other devotional activity as their primary activity, yatha labham eva seva karya, then instead of smaran, they can engage in other services which they are attracted towards. Jiva Goswami says, however, na tu yanchadi atishayena karpanyam karyam. In such cases of distress, one should not become a very big beggar, atishayena, become a tremendous beggar in front of others, and karpanyam karyam. One should not display miserliness in this way. Oh, it was lost, I got something to eat, something nice to eat, somebody took it away. Now I will beg from somebody or I'll steal from somebody and make it up. So this karpanyam, this miserliness should be completely avoided. This is the message given in Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary. Iti gyayam. This should be understood. Now, Shok Adi Avashavartita, 16th limb. Shok Adi Avashavartita. Avasha means not falling prey. To what? Shok Adi. To lamentation, etc. Vartita. To be in such a way. Yatha tatraiva. In the same Purana as the previous. Previous was Padma Purana. So tatraiva. In the same Purana. So now not falling prey to negative emotions such as lamentation, etc. as it is said in Padma Purana. What is said? Shokamarshadibhirbhavair akrantam yasya manasam katham tatra mukundasya spurti sambhavana bhavet. Very nice verse Srila Rupa Goswami is saying. Shokamarshadibhirbhavair akrantam yasya manasam. Yasya manasam, whose mind is akrantam, completely overtaken by bhavair, by negative feelings such as shok, amarsha adi, such as lamentation, anger, etc. Katham, how is it possible? Rhetorical question. That is, it is not possible. Tatra mukundasya spurti sambhavana. How is it possible that a spontaneous remembrance of Lord Mukunda will occur in such a mind? So if there is any disturbance in our minds, definitely we will not be able to spontaneously remember Lord Mukunda with such a disturbed mind. So dear devotees, keeping a completely non-disturbed mind, we should focus on our bhajan. It is the responsibility of every devotee to keep a non-disturbed mind in all cases, because as soon as the mind is a little agitated or a little disturbed, at that point of time one cannot execute one's bhajan nicely. So next is limb number 17. Anya Deva Anavagya, not disrespecting or disregarding other gods or other deities. Yatha Tatraiva, in the same literature. Which literature is that? Padma Purana. What does it say? Harireva Sadaradhya Sarvadeveshwareshwarah Itare Brahma Rudradya Navagyeya Kadachana. Harireva Sada Aradhya. Lord Hari is always to be worshipped. Why? Because Sarva Deveshwareshwara, he is the Lord of all the gods. But itare Brahma Rudradya, but at the same time other gods such as Brahma, Rudra, etc. Na avagyeyah kadachana. At any point of time they should never be disrespected by the sadhaka. There are many who are saying, oh, Brahma, demigod, Shiva, demigod. So disrespecting them is definitely to be completely avoided. This is one of the limbs of bhakti. Please try to understand, dear devotees. One of the limbs of bhakti is to not disrespect the other gods. So whenever we see other gods, whenever we see other Vedic deities, we should bow down in front of them. We should show our respects to them as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to show. We may not ask anything from them, but basic code of respect, basic ethics of respect should always be maintained, and maintaining these ethics of respect towards other Vedic deities is a limb of Uttama Bhakti. So this is limb number 17. Now we move ahead to limb number 18. Bhutanudvega Daita Yatha Mahabharate. Now 18th limb is Bhuta Anudvega Daita, which means not giving any udvega or any anxiety to Bhuta, to other living entities. Yatha Mahabharate, as it is given in the Mahabharata. Now I was not able to trace this quote to the currently available edition of Mahabharata, but still Rupa Goswami has said that this is from the Mahabharata, so I am quoting it and translating it here. He says, Piteva putram karuno nodve jayati yojanam vishuddhasya rishikeshas turnam tasya prasidati. He says, now not giving any anxiety to other living entities, as it is said in the Mahabharata. Piteva putram karuno no dvejayati yojanam. Just as a merciful father, Pita eva putram karuno is very merciful, doesn't cause anxiety to his sons. Similarly, a merciful individual, yojanam, does not cause anxiety to other living entities. No dvejayati. Vishuddhasya Rishikesha Turnam Tasya Prasidati. Lord Rishikesha is quickly satisfied. Turnam Prasidati, with such an immensely pure, Vishuddhasya, with such an immensely pure individual. So this is the 18th limb of Uttama Bhakti, that is Bhuta Anudvega Dayita, which means now not giving any anxiety to other living entities. So this is the 18th negative injunction, which is a limb of Uttama Bhakti. Moving ahead, 19th limb. This is an exhaustive limb because it includes Seva Aparads and Nam Aparads. So Srila Rupa Goswami says, Seva Nama Aparadhanam Varjanam. Now avoiding the arising of Seva Aparads, that is offenses while performing deity worship, and Nam Aparad, that is offenses while chanting Krishna's name, Harinam. Yatha Varahe, as it is given in the Varaha Purana. Mamarchana paradhaye kirtyante vasudhevaya vaishnavena sada te tu varjaniyah prayatnatah. So now not allowing Seva Aparads and Nama Aparads to arise at any time, as it is said in the Varaha Purana. Dear earth, Vasudhe, the aparadhas, offenses being described by me, Maya, that is Varahadev, who is the husband of Vasudha, that is planet earth. These offenses described by me, Varaha, should always be avoided by the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavena, Sadate tu Varjaniya. They should be avoided by the Vaishnavas, Prayatnatah, with great effort. So with great effort and diligence, the Vaishnavas should try to avoid Seva Aparads and Nama Aparad. So this is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.118. Now the list of Seva Aparads, exhaustive list of Seva Aparads, is given by Srila Jiva Goswami in his commentary. Now I will describe each and every Seva Aparad given by Srila Jiva Goswami in his commentary with the original Sanskrit name for that aparad. So Srila Jiva Goswami says, first Seva Aparad is Yanairva Padukairvapi Gamanam Bhagavad Grihe. Going to the temple of the Lord in a vehicle, palanquin, or while wearing shoes. This is the first seva aparadh. Second, Devotsavadi Asevacha, to not render any service whatsoever during a festival of the worshipable deity. So to completely remain without any service, this is also an aparadh. Third, Apranamastadagratah, to not offer obeisances in front of the worshipable deity. In general case, if one is not very sick, if one is not disabled, one should offer obeisances to the deity when one arrives at the temple or when one sees a procession of the deity. So this is the third seva aparadh. Jiva Goswami says fourth, Uchchishte vapi ashauche va bhagavat vandanadikam, singing etc. in front of the deity, bhagavat vandanadikam, without washing hands or in an impure bodily condition. Impure bodily condition is immediately after waking up from sleep or after answering the calls of nature. So this is impure bodily condition. In such a condition, uchchishte vapi, or if somebody has eaten something and not washed his hands, this is impure bodily condition. Bhagavad vandanadikam, singing etc. or serving the deity in such a condition. So this is also an offense. Ekahasta pranamascha, to offer obeisances using only one hand. Sometimes we see some individuals, they are offering obeisances simply using one hand, praying using one hand. So this offense should be avoided. Actually speaking, in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it is said that Dorbhyam Padbhyam cha Janobhyam Urasa Shirasa Drisha Vachasa Manasa Cheti Pranamo Ashtanga Irete. So the Ashtanga Pranam using 8 bodily limbs, including the mind. So this is described in Hari Bhakti Vilas. At least Panchanga Pranams with 5 bodily limbs should be performed in front of the Lord. And when one is offering obeisances, both hands should be used. Next, Tat Purastat Pradakshinam, to perform some circumambulation in front of the worshipable deity. So in front of the deity, actually one should perform circumambulation of the deity. But to perform circumambulation of some other entity in front of the deity, so this should be avoided. Therefore, during the worship of Tulasi Devi, the doors of the deity are usually closed so that this offense does not apply, because the doors of the deity are closed, so we are not performing circumambulation of Tulasi while the deity doors are open. So this is Tat Purastat Pradakshinam. Next, Srila Jiva Goswami says, Pada Prasaranam Chagre, to spread one's legs in front of the deity. This is Pada Prasaranam Cha Agre, in front of the deity. 8th is Paryanka Bandhanam, to squat in front of the deity. This is called as Paryanka Bandhan. In ancient times, some monks, or especially amongst the Buddhists, they had this squatting position as their standard sitting position. This squatting position, as it is shown on the screen, this is called as Paryanka Bandhanam, to squat in front of the deity. So in front of the deity, one should not sit in such a position. Next is Shayanam, to lie down or sleep in front of the deity. Next is Bhakshanam, to eat in front of the deity. So one should not eat anything in front of the deity. This is the standard rule. Then 11th is Mithya Bhashanam, uttering lies in front of the deity. So one should not lie in front of the deity. Not lie to the deity, not lie to anybody else. This is Mithya Bhashanam. 12th is Uchchair Bhasha, speaking loudly in front of the deity. One should not speak loudly in front of the deity, because the deity can get disturbed by our loud speech. 13th is Mitho Jalpaha. Mitha means useless, Jalpaha means gossip. Engaging in useless gossip, Prajalpa, in front of the deity. 14th is Rodanani, crying loudly. Now, shedding tears is a different type of crying, and crying loudly, wailing in front of the deity, that is not allowed. Sometimes some individuals are seen wailing, crying loudly in front of the deity. That is actually counted as an aparadh in the Varaha Purana. All these offenses are from the Varaha Purana. Srila Jiva Goswami is simply relisting them in his commentary. 15th is Vigraha, engaging in some quarrel, argument or fight in front of the deity. This is called as Vigraha. 16th and 17th are Nigraha Anugrahau, Nigraha Anugrahau. Nigraha means disciplining somebody, punishing somebody. And Anugraha means forgiving somebody in front of the deity. Actually, it is the deity who can punish or forgive. He is the supreme punisher and the supreme forgiver. So acting as a punisher or forgiver in front of the deity is also counted as one of the offenses, seva aparads. Next, Srila Jiva Goswami says, Nrishu cha krura bhashanam, uttering cruel, harsh words towards Nrishu, other people in front of the deity. This is also an offense. 19th is Kambala avaranam, covering oneself, avaranam, with kambal, quilt or thick blanket in front of the deity. Of course, there might be some exceptions in places where it is too cold, but still in general, in normal weather, one should not cover oneself with a kambala, with a quilt or a thick blanket in front of a deity. 20th, Paraninda, criticism of others in front of the deity. 21st, Parastutihi, praising others in front of the deity. So these two things should be avoided by the sadhaka. 22nd, Ashlila Bhashanam. Ashlila Bhashanam is vulgar speech in front of the deity. Words which should not be spoken, indecent words, they should not be spoken in front of the deity. 23rd is Adho Vayu Vimokshanam, passing flatus or passing air in front of the deity. If one is feeling the urge, biological urge to pass air, actually this biological urge should not be suppressed. But if one is feeling the urge to pass air, it is recommended that one come out of the main temple room in order to relieve oneself of this urge. 24th is Shaktau Gauna Upachara. Shaktau, even though one is capable of offering more, still Gauna Upachara, offering minimal paraphernalia to the deity. Many times some individuals are seen doing this, that they can offer an entire garland to the deity, but they think, oh, Krishna is pleased simply with one flower, Patram Pushpam. A Pushpam is single flower. So one flower is enough for Krishna. But Shaktau, if we have the capacity, why offer a single flower? The main principle behind this is don't act miserly. So this is Shaktau Gauna Upachara, offering minimal paraphernalia to the deity even though one is capable of offering more. 25th, Anivedita Bhakshanam, eating unoffered food in front of the deity. In general, one should not eat unoffered food, but especially in front of the deity, one should never eat unoffered food. The deity should first be offered food and then one should eat the remnants, and eating the remnants especially should not be done in front of the deity. Previously, it has been described as one of a seva aparads. Next is Tat kalodbhavanam cha faladinam anarpanam. Tat kalodbhava, seasonal fruits, faladinam anarpanam, not offering them to the deity. So there are various seasons in our entire year, and every season brings some fresh fruits, fresh flowers along with it. To not offer fresh fruits and flowers during the season is also an offense. For example, currently on this today is summer season currently is going on in India, and summer season is mango season in India. So one should offer these seasonal fruits to the Lord because it is the season of mangoes. Not offering mangoes to the Lord in mango season or not offering a seasonal flower to the Lord in that season is considered to be an offense in one's bhajan. 27th, Viniyukta avashishtasya pradanam vyanjanadike. Viniyukta avashishtasya pradanam. First distributing foodstuffs, vyanjanadika, to others and then offering the remaining to the deity, which means giving first preference to other individuals and then offering the remnants to the deity. What should be done is exactly the opposite. First, one should offer foodstuffs to the deity and then offer the remnants to others. But if somebody first offers it to others and then gives the remnants to the deity, then it means that one does not have the proper conception of the deity in his mind. This is also an offense. 28th, Prishthi Krityasanam, sitting with one's back towards the deity. Asanam, it's very important here, prishthikritya asanam, sitting with one's back towards the deity. So while one is sitting, specifically asanam, one should not sit with one's back towards the deity. This is an important seva aparadh to note. Paresham abhivadanam, paying obeisances or respects to other in front of the deity. Paresham abhivadanam. The deity is like a king, and in front of the king we pay obeisances or respects to the king. Gurau maunam, to remain completely silent in front of the guru, even if the guru has asked us to speak. This is also one of the seva aparadhs. Nijastotram, praising oneself in front of the guru. So this is also one of the seva aparadhs. 31st. 32nd, devata nindanam, criticizing other gods in front of the deity. Of course, anya devata navagya, this was described as one of the limbs previously in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but there is a special aparadh if it is done in front of the deity. So anya devata nindanam, criticizing other gods in front of the deity. Rajanna bhojanam, eating food cooked at royal palaces. Why should one not eat rajanna bhojan? Because it is said in Manusmriti, 4th chapter, 218th verse, Rajannam teja adatte, eating food cooked at royal palaces quickly diminishes all the spiritual practices that one has achieved. So one should not eat food at the palace of a king. Royal palace food should be avoided by sadhakas. Then Dhvantagare Hare Sparsha. Dhvantagar is pitch dark room. In a pitch dark room, Hare Sparsha, to touch the deity. Because the deity is also considered to be like a person. And if a person is in a pitch dark room and somebody touches the person, that person might get astonished or frightened. Of course, the deity is completely spiritual and the deity can never be materially frightened. But we should not have the tendency to try and do so in front of the deity. Next, Srila Jiva Goswami says, Vidhim vina haryupasarpanam, approaching Hari, the deity, without following proper etiquette. What is the proper etiquette? While approaching the deity, one should knock on the doors, one should pay obeisances. So, without proper etiquette, approaching the Lord is also the 35th seva aparadh. 36th, Vadyam vina tadvarodghatanam, opening the gates of the deity temple without playing some musical instrument. Because as I said, the deity is treated like a king. Therefore, when the king's doors are opened, some musical instruments are played. Similarly, when the deity's doors are opened, some musical instruments are played, and therefore often on the doors of the deity we see sometimes we see a small bell which is played when the doors are opened. Sometimes we can attach the bell to the door so that whenever the door is opened, the bell automatically starts playing. So this is a very easy way of avoiding this offense. Then next is Kukura Drishta Bhakshya Sangraha, accumulating food that has been glanced over by a dog. Now this is very important because some individuals think that there is no harm if we have a dog with us, if we keep a dog near us. Well, if we keep a dog near us, then as Srila Jiva Goswami has explained in his commentary, Kukura Drishta Bhakshya, the dog's vision will always be on all the foodstuffs that are there in the house. And collecting such foodstuffs and offering it to the deity will become one of the seva aparadhs. It is a traditional understanding in Vedic literature that anything touched, licked or glanced upon by a dog can very quickly become impure. 38th, Archane Mauna Bhangaha, breaking one's silence during deity worship. So the person who is actually performing the deity worship, showing the fan or showing the lamp, should remain silent while performing such deity worship. 39th, Puja Kale Vidutsargaya Sarpanam, to suddenly Puja Kale, during the time of deity worship, Vidutsargaya Sarpanam, leave the deity half worshipped in order to answer the call of nature. Because if one is leaving the deity without proper worship, that leads to another aparadha. Therefore, one should ensure that if one has to answer the call of nature, then either before worshipping the deity or after worshipping the deity, not during the deity worship procedure. 40th, Gandha Malyadikam Adatva Dhupanam, to offer incense, Dhupanam, Adatva, without offering gandhamalya, fragrances and garlands. So one should offer fragrances, garlands, and then one should offer incense. All these should be offered. So simply offering incense but not offering the remaining paraphernalia is also a seva aparadh. 41st, anarha pushpena pujanam, to perform deity worship by using unofferable flowers. Some flowers are poisonous. Some individuals think will make flowers out of paper. If proper flowers are available, then proper flowers should be offered to the deity. So unofferable flowers should never be given to the deity. 42nd, akritva dantakashtham, deity worship without brushing one's teeth. One should brush one's teeth before worshipping the deity. 43rd, nidvanam kritva, to engage in deity worship immediately after engaging in sex. 44th, sprishtva rajaswalam, to perform deity worship after touching a lady who is in her menses. So if one has touched such a lady, one should take a bath and then only one should touch the deity. 45th, deepam, to perform deity worship after touching a lamp. So because after touching a lamp, the hand might get blackened because of the effect of the lamp. So one should wash one's hands and then only one should touch the deity. 46th, mritakam, to perform deity worship after touching a dead body. This is common sense. After touching a dead body, one can get infected. Many times people die out of epidemics, pandemics, and because of many other contagious diseases. After touching the body, one should not touch the deity. 47th, raktam neelam adhautam cha parakyam malinam patam paridhaya, to perform deity worship while wearing a raktam, deep red. Raktam is blood red, not light red, blood red, the red which is usually worn by Buddhist monks. Deep red. Neelam, deep blue, royal blue. Adhautam cha, unwashed. Parakyam, cloth worn by somebody else. Or malinam, unclean cloth in general. One should not wear such clothes. Mritam drishtva, 48th, is to perform deity worship after seeing a dead body. 49th is vimuchchapana marutam, to perform deity worship after passing flatus, after passing air. So in the deity worship room, one should not pass air. 50th, krodham kritva, to perform deity worship after exhibiting anger. Why? Because the same anger one carries in his or her mind and he takes it to the deity room. 51st, shmashanam cha gatva, to perform deity worship after visiting a crematorium. This is obvious, logical, one should take a bath. Bhuktapi ajirna yuk, to perform deity worship while experiencing symptoms of indigestion after eating. Why? Because if one is experiencing indigestion, one will not be able to complete his deity worship and that will lead to another aparadh. 53rd, bhakshayitva kroda mamsam, to perform deity worship after consuming boar meat. Now this regulation specifically does not apply to the Vaishnavas because the Vaishnavas never eat meat. But this regulation is given in the Varaha Puran, and these regulations also apply to worship of other deities, and sometimes there are worshippers of other deities who do consume meat. So for them this regulation is given to worship the deity after consuming boar meat. Bhuktva kusumbham, to perform deity worship after consuming opium. This also is not for the Vaishnavas because Vaishnavas do not consume opium. But there are worshippers of some other deities who may be consuming opium. For them, this rule is there that they should not perform deity worship after consuming opium. Pinyakam, to perform deity worship after consuming oil cake. So there are various cakes made out of variety of oils. After consuming them, one should not engage in deity worship. Jalapadakam, to perform deity worship after consuming goose meat or swan meat. This also again is not so much for the Vaishnavas but worshippers of other deities. 57th is Kusumbha Shakam, to perform deity worship after consuming Kusumbha Shak. Kusumbha Shak is water spinach, not a very popular variation of shak, but still it is noted here. One should not eat Kusumbha Shak and perform deity worship. Tailabhyangam Vidhaya, to perform deity worship after application of oil on the body, which means after an oil massage or simply after rubbing oil on any part of the body, one should not perform deity worship. 59th is Bhagavad Shastranadharena Tat Pratipatti, to serve the Lord while disrespecting devotional literature. I have previously mentioned in the previous video, any disrespect of Shastra should never be tolerated. So much devotional knowledge, so many realizations are based on Shastra. They are exclusively based on Shastra. Anybody who slightly disrespects Shastra can never become a successful worshipper of the deity. 60th, Anya Shastra Pravartanam, to start propagating a non-devotional literature. For example, literatures of the Buddhists or atheists in front of the deity or while performing deity worship or otherwise. 61st, Tad Agratas Tambula Charvanam, to eat betel nut in front of the deity. One should not, in general, one should not eat anything, but specially eating betel nut is considered to be a sign of affluence. So one should not show one's affluence by eating betel nut in front of the deity. 62nd, Eranda Patrastha Pushpair Archanam. Eranda is the castor tree. Eranda Patrastha Pushpair, by keeping leaves, by keeping flowers on castor leaf, offering it to the Lord. A castor leaf is a very sharp leaf and the Lord does not like flowers offered on a castor leaf. 63rd, Asura Kale Pujanam, to perform deity worship during wrong times when the influence of demons is greater. For example, performing deity worship at 12 o'clock in the night. This is Asura Kale Pujanam. 64th, Pithe Bhumav Vopavishya Pujanam, to perform deity worship while being seated on a platform, a wooden platform, or on the floor. So deity worship should ideally be performed while standing up. This is what we usually see in most of the temples. 65th, Snapana Kale Vamahastena Tatsparsha, to touch the deity with the left hand while bathing it. While bathing the deity, the left hand should be used for holding the bathing vessel and the bathing should be performed with the right hand. 66th, Paryushitair Yachitair Va Pushpair Archanam, to perform deity worship by using Paryushita, stale flowers, or Yachita Pushpair, or flowers obtained by begging. Ideally, one should have one's own small garden from which one collects flowers. 67th, Pujayam Nishtivanam, to spit during deity worship. 68th, Tasyam Swagarva Pratipadanam, to exhibit one's pride while performing deity worship, to show how nice a deity worshipper I am. 69th, Tiryak Pundradhriti, to apply tilak in a crooked manner. 70th is Aprakshalita Padatvepi Tan Mandire Pravesha, to enter the temple without washing one's feet. Usually outside every temple, most of the temples, we will find a place for washing hands and feet. So we should make use of that facility. 71st is Avaishnava Pakva Nivedanam, to offer the deity some food cooked by a non-Vaishnava. 72nd, Avaishnava Drishtav Pujanam, to perform deity worship while a non-Vaishnava is looking at the worship. When a non-Vaishnava is looking, definitely in his mind he or she will commit offenses and therefore this should be avoided. So when a non-Vaishnava is looking at the worship, at that time we should not perform deity worship. Of course, in huge temples, this may not be possible because when the deity is being worshipped, so many people are looking simultaneously at the deity. But in our personal deity worship, we can try to follow this rule. So we are seeing that some of the offenses may be unavoidable in some cases, but the acharyas are also going to give us a solution to completely get rid of all these offenses. At the end, I will discuss that solution too. 73rd is Vignesham Apujayitva. Vignesh is Ganesh. In the spiritual world, it is Vishwaksen. Vignesham Apujayitva, to worship the deity without first worshipping Vignesh, Ganesh. So there are some who have obtained the worship of Ganesh through family lineage. For example, in the family in which I was born, the worship of Ganesh has been passed down through family tradition. So without worshipping Ganesh, worshipping the deity is also an offense. In the spiritual world, Ganesh is represented as Vishwaksen. So before worshipping the deity, one should pay obeisances to Vishwaksen. One should offer respects to Shri Vishwaksen. 74th is Kapalinam Drishtva, to worship the deity after seeing a Kapali. So in India, there are many skull-carrying ascetics known as Kapalis. To worship the deity after seeing a Kapali is also a Seva Aparadh. 75th is Nakhambhasa Snapanam, to bathe the deity with water that has been touched by one's nails. Ideally, one's nails should be trimmed short if one wants to bathe the Lord. 76th, Gharmambu Liptatvevi Pujanam, to perform deity worship while being drenched in sweat. So this is also one of the Seva Aparadhs. The last two seva aparats described by Srila Jiva Goswami: Nirmalya Langhanam, to step over a garland offered to the Lord. And the 78th is Bhagavat Chapatadayah. Adaya means etc. There are more, but he pauses at 78 and says to swear or take an oath in the name of the deity. So these are the seva aparats with the original words that have been given by Srila Jiva Goswami in his commentary. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that how one gets rid of seva aparats. He says seva aparadhanam tu नामभिस्तंतन निवर्तक स्तोत्र पाठै सेवा सातत्येन च भव्यस्य विवेकिनः प्रायः प्रतिदिनम् एव उपशमेनाङ्कुरी भावानुपलब्धेः किन्तु तत्तदुपशम संभव बलेन तत्र सावधानता शैथिल्य सेवापराध अपि नामापराध एव स्युः तथा ह्युक्तं नाम्नो बलाद् यस्य हि पाप बुद्धि इति. What he is trying to say here in Madhurya Kadambini, this is not from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it's from other literature named Madhurya Kadambini of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He is trying to say that for the intelligent souls, their seva aparats are removed daily by their chanting of Harinam and various devotional hymns, as well as by their constant engagement in deity worship. In their case, even the seed of seva aparat does not arise. However, if one becomes negligent and makes the mistake of thinking that one seva aparats will be driven away by these processes and willingly commit seva aparat, then it leads to the seventh Nam Aparad, which is committing sins on the strength of chanting Harinam. So, important to note here, if one is sincere and some seva aparads are occurring by constant chanting of Harinam while performing the deity worship, mentally chanting Harinam while performing deity worship, or otherwise by chanting Harinam, one seva aparads will be removed. But if one is taking it for granted and thinking that my seva aparats will anyways be removed because I am chanting Harinam, that becomes an offense. Now, for somebody who is sincere, how do seva aparats get removed by chanting constantly? So, if somebody is more interested in this, they can see Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th canto, 23rd chapter, verse number 16. You can note down this verse. As of now, there is no time to get into the details of this verse, but for those devotees who are interested, they can look into this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 8.23.16, and maybe they can memorize this verse if they like it. Srila Jiva Goswami then describes the Nama Aparats. The 10 Nama Aparats are Satam Ninda, criticizing the saintly souls. Second, Shri Vishnu Sakashat Shivasya Namadehe Swatantriya Mananam, to consider the names, etc., names, forms, qualities, pastimes of Lord Shiva to be independent of Lord Vishnu. Third is Guru Ravagya, to disrespect the Guru or disobey the Guru's order. Fourth is Shruti Tadanugata Shastra Nindanam, criticizing the Vedas and the scriptures that follow in the footsteps of the Vedas. Fifth is Harinam Mahimnyarthavada Matram Idam Iti Mananam, to think that glories of Harinam are mere poetic eulogies. They are not true. To think like this is also Namaprad. Sixth, Tatra Prakarantarena Artha Kalpanam, to give an out of context interpretation. Not to give any interpretation, but to give specifically an out of context, because the Acharyas have also given interpretations of the holy name. Doesn't mean that the Acharyas have committed this offense. To give out of context interpretation which is not consistent with the glorification of the Lord, this is also an offense. Seventh, Nama Balena Papae Pravritti, tendency to commit forbidden acts on the strength of Harinam. Eighth, Anya Shubha Kriyabhir Nama Samya Mananam, to think that Harinam is equivalent to just it is one of the pious Vedic activities. Ninth is Ashraddhadhanadau Namopadesha, to instruct a faithless person or an atheist, etc. in Harinam. 10th is Nama Mahatmya Shrute Pi Apriti, to not show attachment for Harinam. We show attachment by chanting it regularly. To not show attachment for Harinam even on hearing its glories. So, these are the Nama Aparadhas and Seva Aparadhas. Now we are coming back to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Srila Rupa Goswami continues and he describes two more verses from Padma Puran which are about avoiding Seva and Nama Aparadha. Rupa Goswami says, Padmecha, in the Padma Puran, Sarva Aparadha Kridapi Muchyate Hari Samshraya Hare Rapya Paradhanyah Kuryad Vipadapam Savah Nama Shrayah Kadachit Syat Taratyeva Sanamatah Namno Pi Sarvat Suhrido Yaparadhat Patatyadha. Rupa Goswami says, in the Padma Puran too it is said, a person who commits any other offense gets free by becoming surrendered to Hari. However, a person who offends Hari is a dark spot on the human race. So any other offense is excusable, but offense to Hari is not excusable. Sometimes even an offender of Hari gets delivered by becoming surrendered to Hari Nam. So even if one has committed an offense to the Lord, one can become forgiven by Hari Nam. But if one commits an offense towards all merciful Hari Nam, then one certainly falls down. So this is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.2.119 and 120. This is describing the 19th limb of Uttama Bhakti. Now coming to the 20th limb and the final limb of today, Tan Nindadi Asahishnuta, to not tolerate the envy or criticism of Lord Krishna or the devotees of Lord Krishna. So Yatha Shri Dashame, as it is specified in the 10th canto, 74th chapter, verse number 40. Nindam Bhagavatah Shrinvam Statparasya Janasya Va Tato Napaiti Yah Sopi Yatyadha Sukritachyutah. So I am reading as it is given in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Nindam Bhagavatah Shrinvam, hearing the criticism of the Lord. Tatparasya Janasya Va, or of his faithful devotee. Tato na apaiti, one who does not leave immediately. Sopi, even that person who does not leave and keeps hearing. Yati adha sukritachyuta, falls down bereft of his pious credit. So this is the 20th limb, which means one should not tolerate the insult of a devotee. If one can give a proper Shastric reply, one should definitely give in order to silence the person who is criticizing. Otherwise, the safest option is to leave that place. So this is limb number 20 of the 64 limbs. Thank you very much, dear devotees. In the next part of the video, we will be continuing from limb number 21 onwards. Hare Krishna.